Are you still spending too much time writing your medical records? What if you could lighten that load and capture every detail of your patient care effortlessly? With ScribeNote, the AI-powered veterinary soap creator, you get fast, accurate medical records that feel like having a personal scribe right there with you. ScribeNote was created out of a brother's wish to help his veterinarian sister reclaim her time and energy. And today, it's trusted by hundreds of clinics across North America, supporting better work-life balance and helping to reduce burnout. Want to see the difference for yourself? Head to scribenote.com to start your free trial with 50 medical or dental records, no credit card needed. And because you're a Reviving Vet Med podcast listener, you can use the special link in the show notes to claim 100 free records now. That's double the usual trial. You can also schedule a no-pressure demo call to explore how ScribeNote fits your workflow. Make record-keeping easier so you can focus on what matters most, your patients and your well-being. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Reviving Vet Med. In this episode, we'll be discussing how to support LGBTQIA+ veterinary professionals and the role of meaningful allyship in creating safe, inclusive, and affirming veterinary workplaces. Topics include the importance of Pride Month in Vet Med, the mental health challenges faced by LGBTQIA+ professionals, the significance of personal pronouns, why gender-inclusive language matters, and what it means to be an active ally rather than a passive observer. So with that said, I am really excited to share this very important information with you, so let's go ahead and get into the episode.
This is the Reviving Vet Med podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Marie Hollowaychuk. And my mission is to improve the mental health and well-being of veterinary professionals around the world.
June is one of my favorite months of the year, and it is for many different reasons. It holds a personal significance for me in that we celebrate my birthday and the birthday of my daughter and even my dog during the month of June. And also because it is the month that we celebrate Pride. And Pride Month is a time to honor and uplift the voices of the LGBTQIA+ community and reflect on the history of LGBTQ+ rights and recommit to equity, inclusion, and belonging. Now, some of you who are not part of the LGBTQIA+ community might ask, well, why does Pride matter in vet medicine? And for starters, I think it's important to acknowledge that the LGBTQIA+ community is well represented in our field. In fact, a survey of vet students at U.S. colleges nearly a decade ago reported that over 6% of respondents identified as LGBTQ+, a percentage that was at the time higher than the general population. However, that visibility doesn't always translate into safety, support, or equity. And I was really surprised myself to read a study published in 2020 in the Journal of the American Vet Med Association that revealed that LGBTQIA+ veterinary professionals, that is non-heterosexual cis men and women and transgender or non-binary individuals, have a higher lifetime prevalence of suicidal thoughts and attempts than their heterosexual cisgender peers. What's equally alarming is that nearly half of LGBTQ+ veterinary professionals reported experiencing challenges related to their sexual orientation or gender identity in the workplace. In fact, over 1/4 of LGBTQIA+ students were exposed to homophobic or negative remarks about gender expression during their training. So yes, Pride Month is essential in vet medicine, not just as a celebration, but as a call to action. So let's take a deeper look at allyship, a term that's gained momentum in recent years, but what does it really mean, especially in the context of veterinary medicine? According to the AVMA's Journey for Teams program, allyship is the ongoing practice of supporting and advocating with individuals who belong to historically marginalized groups, especially those different from your own. So it's not just about standing beside someone in moments of adversity. It's about using your voice, influence, and actions consistently to uplift others in both small and significant ways. Now, it's important to recognize that allyship is not performative. It's not just a rainbow flag in June or a post on social media. It's a daily practice. Sometimes it's visible, sometimes it's quiet, but it's always rooted in empathy, self-awareness, and courage. So what makes someone an effective ally? Well, according to DEI educator Dr. Lisa Greenhill, and based on Karen Catlin's guide, Better Allies, Everyday Actions to Create Inclusive, Engaging Workplaces, there are 7 different types of allies, and you can be more than one. And the first is the sponsor. The sponsor vocally supports and boosts someone from a historically marginalized group, especially when their voices are being ignored or dismissed. For example, recommending an LGBTQIA+ colleague for a speaking opportunity or a leadership role. The second is the champion. The champion advocates publicly for underrepresented individuals. This might be on social media, at conferences, or in team meetings where representation is lacking. The third is the amplifier. The amplifier ensures that underrepresented voices are heard. When someone shares a great idea, you credit them and encourage them to present it rather than taking over or getting lost in the noise. The fourth is the advocate. The advocate uses their influence to ensure that historically excluded individuals are included in decisions that matter. That's the person who says, who else needs to be in this room? Number 5 is the upstander. The upstander takes action when they witness microaggressions or discrimination. Instead of staying silent, they step in respectfully but firmly and then check in with the person who was affected afterwards. Number 6 is the scholar. The scholar does the work to educate themselves. This means reading, listening, watching, and learning from credible voices in the LGBTQIA+ community and beyond. They don't wait for someone else to explain the issues to them. They find out for themselves. And number 7 is the confidant. The confidant creates a safe space where others feel safe sharing their challenges. They listen without judgment or interruption and offer support without centering themselves in the conversation. So the beauty of these roles is that they reflect different personalities, comfort levels, and contexts. So whether you're more comfortable behind the scenes or you're ready to lead a panel, there is a way for everyone to practice allyship. And here's the key. Allyship doesn't have to be big or public to be impactful. Sometimes the most powerful actions happen in private, maybe correcting a colleague who misgenders someone, or sharing your pronouns in your email signature, or standing quietly next to someone when they need support. Allyship also requires humility. Allies will inevitably make mistakes, and I can attest to this. But what sets allies apart is how they respond, hopefully with openness, accountability, and a willingness to do better. As Dr. Greenhill has said, allies know that they might make mistakes unintentionally, but they welcome feedback, learn from their experiences, and make changes based on what they learned. So if you're wondering how to get started, try asking yourself this: what are my own privileges, and how can I use them to elevate the voices of historically marginalized groups? So this reflection is great to guide your journey forward. It doesn't matter if you're a student, a vet tech, a practice owner, or a specialist. Whatever your role is in vet medicine, you have the opportunity to foster a more inclusive and safe workplace. Another suggestion that you can take away is to print out the AVMA's 7 Types of Allies poster, and I will link to that in the show notes. You can hang it up in your clinic break room, or you can share it at one of your team meetings. And you want to invite your team to reflect on what type of ally they are or what type of ally they want to be. Better yet, commit together to a single team-wide behavior change. Maybe it's adopting gender-inclusive language, scheduling a DEI lunch and learn, or establishing some sort of feedback mechanism for microaggressions. And I encourage you, regardless of what your team does, to make a personal commitment, even if it's private. Choose one small, meaningful way that you can step more fully into allyship during the month of June, because when we foster inclusion, we also foster well-being, and that benefits every single person on the team. Now, if you're looking for more tangible ways to introduce allyship to yourself or to your team, one of the most accessible and meaningful ways that we can practice this every day is through the language that we use, particularly when it comes to acknowledging people's identities. And I have written blogs about this before that I will share in the show notes as well, but the topics of personal pronouns and using gender-inclusive language are really important starting points when it comes to allyship, especially in reference to the LGBTQIA+ community. So these things might seem like small acts, but they can really have a profound impact on whether someone else feels seen, respected, and safe in their work environment. Now, I will be the first to admit that I feel like I was a little bit late to the pronoun party. For a long time, I didn't fully understand why people were including pronouns in their email signatures or their LinkedIn bios or their Zoom names. And the more that I read and learned, the clearer it became that pronouns are about visibility, safety, and respect. So personal pronouns are used in place of someone's name. For example, instead of calling me Marie, you might say she. But they also carry assumptions about gender. For example, using she or her for a woman or he or him for a man might seem harmless, unless, of course, you're referring to someone whose appearance doesn't match their identity. That's misalignment, and even when unintentional, can cause emotional distress. So I am a cisgender woman, meaning I look like a woman, and that means that I have gender privilege. Society tends to perceive me as I perceive myself. But for many LGBTQIA+ individuals, that's not the case. For someone who's been misgendered repeatedly, being seen and affirmed by their correct pronouns can make all the difference. Dr. Dane Winokur, in an article for AHA's Trends magazine, said it best. I quote, "In recognizing the importance of personal pronouns and advocating for their use, we can start to create a culture of inclusion for those around us and begin to eliminate this form of oppression." So what can you do? Well, you can share your pronouns, say them out loud, include them in your email signature, on your business cards, even on your name tag. You might say something like, "Hi, I'm Dr. Marie Holloway-Chuck, and my pronouns are she, her. What brings you in today?" And if you're not comfortable sharing them out loud, start by including them in writing. And if you mess up, which we all do, I've done it myself, you offer a quick apology, correct yourself, and move forward. Don't make it about you. The other thing I want to highlight is the use of gender-inclusive language. And I can't stress this enough. Language is so powerful. It can include or it can exclude, often without us realizing it. Years ago, when I was professor at the Ontario Vet College, I received feedback from one of my students asking me to stop saying "you guys" in class. And at the time, I was surprised. I hadn't even considered that this common phrase might leave people out. But the truth is, it does. Phrases like "you guys" or "ladies and gentlemen" reinforce a gender binary that doesn't reflect everyone's identity. And using terms like manning the desk or man hours can inadvertently exclude the majority of our profession, which is now over 80% female identified. Similarly, referring to clients or their partners with gendered assumptions like husband or wife can lead to misgendering, awkward moments, and feelings of alienation. So here are a few but impactful swaps that you can try. Use partner or spouse instead of husband or wife. Replace he or she with they or use the person's name. Address groups as everyone, folks, friends, or teammates. And opt for Ms. unless someone tells you otherwise, or, in my preference, avoid those titles altogether. These simple shifts help foster an environment where people feel seen, respected, and safe, which is what we all want, right? No one expects you to be perfect, and I think that's really important to emphasize, but they do expect you to try. If a colleague corrects your language or pronoun use, accept the feedback with gratitude. Consider it a gift, a moment of growth. I remember not too long ago when I misgendered a friend and colleague of mine in an email and used a name that this person no longer went by. And they sent me an email and gently let me know in a very kind way, recognizing that this was probably not my intention, and yet it did have an impact. And I took it to heart. I apologized. I sent an email to the group acknowledging my error, and we moved on. And I was so grateful that this was pointed out to me so that I could fix what had probably felt like a microaggression. So if you do want other resources, one of the other big things that I would recommend is that you do create space for learning and unlearning some of these habits that we've developed over the years. Resources like the website mypronouns.org can be used to educate yourself, or you can join organizations like PrideVMC, whose mission is to create a better world for LGBTQ+ individuals in veterinary medicine. You can also listen to episodes of the AVMA's My Veterinary Life podcast, focused on diversity and inclusion, or take their Journey for Teams educational modules. And if you're in a leadership or management role, I urge you to take it a step further. Normalize sharing pronouns on onboarding paperwork. Encourage inclusive language in team meetings. Review your forms, HR materials, and marketing to remove gendered assumptions. These are small changes that signal to LGBTQIA+ individuals that you belong here. Finally, I want you to remember that allyship is ongoing. It's not just a Pride Month thing. It's a daily, lifelong commitment. It means stepping outside your comfort zone, checking your assumptions, and standing beside LGBTQIA+ veterinary professionals in solidarity. It means reflecting on how you show up in your clinic, how you address clients and team members, and how you advocate for fairness and respect. It's about creating the kind of profession that we can all be proud of, one where everyone feels safe, valued, and empowered to thrive. So that's it for this episode of Reviving Vet Med. I hope that you took away some tips for supporting LGBTQIA+ veterinary professionals and becoming a more intentional, informed ally in your practice and community. If you do one thing after listening to this episode, I hope that it's to forward it to a friend or a coworker who you think could benefit from it. As well, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the podcast so that you are sure to get the new episodes as soon as they drop. And if you're interested in the many fantastic resources that we shared during today's episode, please check out the show notes. You can also follow us on social media at Reviving Vet Med for more tips and strategies for well-being in vet medicine. And if you have questions about today's episode, suggestions for future topics, or inquiries about sponsorship, please email us at podcast@revivingvetmed.com. I'd like to thank the team at Podcast Prime Solutions for producing this episode, and I'd also like to thank you for listening. I hope you'll tune in next time. In the meantime, take care of yourself. Bye for now.